It was certainly a good Friday for Bradford City after last night's frustration at home at Notts County. For the large part, a lot of the other League 2 results have gone in our favour. Welcome back to the League 2 review. Game week 43, 12 matches for us to go through and review in a little bit more detail. Now this video is coming out straight after pretty much all the games have been played, so for the large part I'm not going to have had the opportunity to watch the goals, but with how busy the Easter period is and how quick the turnaround is for Monday's games, I've still got a match preview to get out for that. I thought the best opportunity to record the League 2 review would be today, straight after the game, so it's going to be less focused on how the goals go in and more focused on what it actually means for the league table. So make sure to like, comment and subscribe. 120 likes as always would be massively appreciated. Let's get straight into it. We'll start out firstly then with last night's clash between my team Bradford City and Notts County. It ended in a 1-1 draw, and I felt like it was two teams who were a little bit nervous. There wasn't really much quality between the two sides, apart from maybe Brandon Kayla for Bradford City. I thought he had probably his best game in a Bradford City shirt, really stepped up in the absence of Richie Smallwood, and obviously David McGoldrick for Notts County. The goal that he scores is one of the best that I've actually seen live. The way he sets it so far outside the post and it just whips in right at the last second, right into the top corner. Absolutely brilliant strike from a man who is still more than good enough to be playing in the Championship. Absolutely unbelievable play and probably one of the best that League 2 has ever seen. We did actually open the score in 16 or so minutes before that. Brandon Kayla, I just mentioned him there, put in a brilliant free kick from the right hand side, and Kieran Kelly scoring his first league goal for the Bantams nearly 2.5 years on since signing for the football club. It was a great header into the top corner, but the substitution we make just before Notts County score was a very strange one. Obviously Anthony Sarsfield does need to come off. He's been missing for the last 7 weeks, so he was never going to last the full game, but why not just go like for like, keep Kayla in the midfield where he's been absolutely brilliant in the game. Why not bring a Jamie Walker or a George Lapsey on? I didn't really understand putting Baldwin into midfield. It really disjointed the way that we were playing. Obviously we changed it then 10 minutes or so later and Baldwin went back into the back three, but that's the last time for me that Baldwin should play in midfield. With the fixtures that we've got between now and the end of the season, he just looks a little bit lost in there. Yes, he's decent on the ball, but that doesn't mean that he can necessarily play central midfield. I'd rather even play an attacking midfielder in there rather than a centre back. But a point probably on the balance of the play was a fair result. In terms of our league position, it's probably 2 points dropped, but the performance that we gave, probably a point, was a fair result. David McGoldrick, like I mentioned, definitely the best player on the park, absolutely outstanding. We did have a really good shout for a penalty in the first half. I think it's Jacob Beede who brought down Anthony Sarcevic. Looks like a penalty to me. It was either a penalty or a goal kick. I've no idea how a corner gets given because Jacob Beede is nowhere near the ball. I thought the referee wasn't amazing really for both sides, quite weak in his decisions. And we also had a bit of a strange incident late on in the game. It was pretty much the last kick of the game. Corner comes into the box, and I think it's Jacob Beede basically barges into Sam Slocum, and then Notts County are given a free kick for it. I don't actually think our shot went over the line, so there's not really much to contest there, but it is frustrating how overprotected that referees are. Like I say, not really much quality between the two sides, apart from Dave McGoldrick, like I mentioned, who is comfortably probably the best player in isolation in this entire division. In terms of the stats, they do, as you would expect, favour Notts County. Some of our more influential players from this season didn't really show up. The likes of Bobby Poynton I thought was really poor. Alex Patterson quite anonymous in the game, so all the stats were in favour of Notts County. McGoldrick missed a great chance as well in the first half. In terms of where it leaves the league table, obviously after last night there was a lot of frustration and disappointment. It wouldn't have been a bad point if we'd have got something out of that game away at Swindon on Saturday, which we definitely should have done, 2-0 up. It was still, even now, such a frustrating decision from Richie Smallwood. We haven't drawn many games at home this season. I think just 2 other games, or maybe 3 actually, Barrow, Wimbledon and also Salford. We'd won 12 of our previous 13 home matches, so definitely a good point for Notts County. They're really clinging on to a playoff spot at the moment, just 3 points separating them and 8th. Obviously if Grimsby would have won today, it would have put some real pressure on Notts County. They're obviously 1 point out of their last possible at 9 available. Our form isn't particularly amazing. I think it's just 2 wins in 7 for us, which isn't great. We've got a really tough run in as well. Chesterfield and then Doncaster away, and then ending the season with Fleetwood at home. So a point that definitely suits Notts County more than Bradford City, but on the balance of play, probably a fair result in all honesty. Wimbledon were halted at home against Chesterfield. 0-0 is the score that this game finished. Obviously, I felt like a draw was probably the best result coming out of this one, because Wimbledon were not going to gain any more ground on us, and Chesterfield are not coming into the match on Monday against Bradford City with any real momentum. It finished 0-0. Ollie Banks obviously went off with injury in the first half. He'll be a big blow for them if he is obviously unavailable on Monday. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, I haven't had the opportunity to watch any highlights, so I don't really know if either team deserved to win the match. In all honesty, it doesn't really look like many clear-cut chances were created. Chesterfield not even a shot on target. Wimbledon actually having more attempts at home, but again just lacking that firepower in the final third. As you would expect, Wimbledon a lot less possession. In terms of the league table then, it's just a solid point really for Wimbledon. I do think they are going to be a playoff team. I think they'll either finish 4th or 5th. I don't think they've quite got enough to finish in that top 3. They've got to close a 4-point gap with just 3 games to go, and they've only won 1 of their last 5. As for Chesterfield, it is definitely 2 points dropped in the context of their season, but going away to Wimbledon and picking up a point and a clean sheet is certainly not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, if they would have won, they would have just been a point outside of the playoffs with 3 games to go. So it's still not impossible for Chesterfield, but it is just 2 wins in their last 5. They probably need to win at home against Bradford City on Monday. It's going to be a real tough challenge for both sides, really. I'd rather Chesterfield didn't have anything to play for, but hopefully that Ollie Banks injury keeps him out for Monday. I know Armando Dobra is going to be out for Monday as well, so a little bit of positive news for Bradford City and probably a fair result on the balance of play. Morecambe's relegation back to the National League has all but been confirmed, as they were defeated 1-0 away at Bromley today. Michael Cheek doing what he does best, converting this time once again from 12 yards, just 3 minutes into the second half, and that was all she wrote really. David Tatonda was sent off for a second bookable offence in the second half. He was actually only booked 2 minutes earlier and came on to the pitch as a substitute just before half time. I've seen a lot of criticism for Tatonda on social media, and in terms of the statistics from the game then, it looked like quite an entertaining one in all honesty. A decent amount of XG created for both sides, possession fairly even, but if Bromley are having nearly 50% of the ball, that says a lot about where Morecambe are at as a football club. Morecambe slightly edged the shots and at shots on target. Both teams had a couple of decent big chances, but come the end of the season, I don't think it's going to be a game that really mattered all too much. I think even if Morecambe would have won, I don't really see them having much chance of survival, and obviously Bromley are relatively safe in mid-table. There is 2 wins in their last 3 for them, with obviously that 5-0 defeat away to Port Vale in between. There's no real kind of humiliation in going away to Port Vale and taking a bit of a hiding when it's your first season in the AFL. It's going to be a comfortable mid-table season for Bromley, so fair play to Andy Woodman. Probably my manager of the year. I think he's done an absolutely brilliant job there. As for Morecambe, they are now 8 points from safety with just 3 games to go. It's 3 straight defeats on the bounce, and I feel like their relegation was confirmed after that defeat at home to Carlisle last week. We'll get onto them later on in today's video, but Morecambe, they're 100% down for me now. They've got absolutely no chance of survival. Bromley though, nice for them to get back to winning ways, and nice to see Michael Cheek on the score sheet again, I guess. An absolutely crazy game at Brunton Park as Carlisle held on in the end to beat league leaders at Port Vale 3-2 at home. Some late heroics from Gabriel Breeze. Georgie Kelly opened the scoring just before half time. He's really hit form recently, and I don't think there's ever really been doubt about the quality that Georgie Kelly has, but he's always seemed to be injured, whether it was at Rotherham, now at Carlisle. Recently, obviously, he has come back into the side. I think he's scored in his last 3 matches, and I think he is now joint top goal scorer for the season. Matty Dennis would score just before half time to make it 2, and that sent them in with a lot of confidence. Just 4 minutes into the second half, Aaron Hayden would pop up with yet another goal, and as for a Bradford City fan, we're now thinking, well, could we maybe go on and win the title again? Then Jayden Stockley would pull a goal back just after the hour mark, and you're thinking, God, Carlisle, please don't do this. 9 minutes later, Sam Hart would make it 3-2, and you're thinking, with 20 minutes plus stoppage time, with the form that Port Vale have been in recently, their knack and ability just to win football matches and get points where maybe at times they don't deserve them, you felt like it probably was going to end with a Port Vale equaliser. Then obviously Port Vale are awarded a penalty in the 92nd, 93rd minute, something like that. Lauren Talai steps up. He's been in unbelievable form since the turn of the year. You probably back him to score. Gabriel Breeze produces some great heroics from the spot. Great penalty save from him. Matty Dennis was then sent off, even though he wasn't actually on the pitch, for a second bookable offence. It all seems to be going on. I watched the last couple of minutes where Port Vale are hurling balls into the box, long throws, corners. Ben Amos is inside the penalty area, and Carlisle just about managed to cling on. It's 3 straight wins on the bounce for them, and it's so crazy to think about, when what I was saying at the time about appointing Mike Williamson. They could have appointed anybody but him and they would have definitely survived this season. It's now only a 4-point gap with 3 games to go. I think Carlisle have Accrington still to play as well. As for Tranmere, just 1 win in their last 4, so it's certainly doable for Carlisle. They're probably going to need to win at least 2, maybe their final 3 games. They're definitely going to need to win 2 and draw 1 at a minimum. That'll obviously take them to 47 points and kind of hope that Tranmere don't win too many more matches, because obviously their manager was sent off today as well, so that's going to play a little bit of a part between now and the end of the season. But it's nice to see Carlisle actually having a bit of hope and something to cling on to. They're not going out with a whimper like Morecambe. As for Port Vale, they've been in unbelievable form. They've beat some real top teams recently, the likes of Crewe, Bradford, Walsall. They even beat Bromley, smashed them, and they've obviously taken some points off some good sides this season. Then they go away to Carlisle and lose. I thought Port Vale were going to go on and run away with the title. After this result, it really does drag them back into it. Just a 3-point gap between 1st and 4th. It is absolutely crazy at the top of the table. Anybody could seem to win the league. Anybody could seem to drop into the playoffs. Whoever does finish in 4th is going to feel really harshly done with. But on the context of the full season, after 46 games, you probably do finish where you deserve. So a massive win for Carlisle, and I'm sure a lot of frustration really from them valiant fans. Cheltenham and Gillingham played out a 1-1 draw in a game that doesn't really mean all too much, so we're not going to spend too much time at talking about it. Jimmy J Morgan would open the scoring after less than 120 seconds. His loan spell from Chelsea, I think it is, hasn't particularly been amazing, but nice to see him on the score sheet, and nice to see Jack Nolan registering an assist. He was obviously unbelievable for Accrington last season. His time at Gillingham hasn't really worked out so far, so it's nice to see him finally getting a goal contribution. Bradford City loanee Sam Stubbs would equalise 20 minutes later. You would assume some type of set piece, with Ryan Haynes getting another assist as well. As for that, there was a couple of substitutions and yellow cards, but not really a lot else happened in the game. Gillingham obviously maintaining their unbeaten run under Gareth Ainsworth, and as for Cheltenham, it's just another point to add to their tally. They didn't really want to end the season in the manner that they were a couple of weeks ago, when they were just consistently losing. It looked like quite an entertaining game, to be fair. Possession fairly even. Expected goals were right up there. Both teams creating loads of chances. 36 shots between the two sides. 9 on target between them. Cheltenham not having a single big chance in the match as well. In terms of where it leaves both teams then, 16th and 17th respectively. Like I mentioned, Gillingham, they maintain their unbeaten run. There's been a lot of draws under Gareth Ainsworth. I feel like a lot of 1-1 draws as well. Yeah, they've had 3 out of their last 5 games have finished 1-1. As for Cheltenham, it is a small unbeaten run that they have now started to pick up, and they're obviously picking up points once again. Their aim probably would have been to try and finish around mid-table, potentially try and creep into that top half, but with the recent form of Swindon, I think they'll be looking for maybe 14th. Just chip away 1 game at a time, take them as it is, and look to build for next season, which I think has been the goal for quite a long time for Michael Flynn's side, but a good point either way for both teams. Colchester and Crewe played out a 0-0 draw in what was potentially a big playoff 6-pointer. Now, obviously, Crewe have a man sent off just before half-time. I wasn't 100% sure what actually happened, but looking on social media, it sounds like a potential kick out, which wasn't really there to be, according to Crewe fans. They might feel a little bit harshly done with by that. There was a late penalty, I do believe, for Colchester in the 87th minute. Arthur Reed stepped up, obviously in the absence of Lyle Taylor, who will be missing for the remainder of this season with, I think, a calf tear, which is obviously a big blow for Colchester. Great save though from Philip Marskell, and again, not a lot else really happened in the match. In honesty, we have a look at the stats. If either team was going to win it, it was certainly going to be Colchester. Way more XG, loads more possession, which is rare for Crewe to give up so much of the ball, but Colchester dominated the shots on target, big chances, corners. Crewe didn't really lay a glove on Colchester, as you would maybe expect with Crewe going down to 10 men, but there was still pretty much an entire first half for Crewe to try and have a little bit of a go. In terms of where it leaves both teams in the table, Colchester now go into the playoffs on goal difference. That negative goal difference is really going to come back to haunt Grimsby, I feel, come the end of the season. Colchester is now 8 points picked up out of their last possible 12 available. Crewe, I don't see them making it into the playoffs, and I've said that for quite a while. They're now 4 points off with just 3 games to go, and they've only won 1 of their last 5. Just 4 points picked up out of their last possible 15 available. So not a great result for Crewe, and I think they'll be looking towards next season now. They've drawn far too many games so far this season, 17 draws. That is one of the most in the entire division. I think that's the second most in the entire division, behind obviously Colchester, who they did play today. So maybe on the balance of play, Crewe will take the point, clean sheet away from home with 10 men for the large part, but still in the context of their season, maybe they could have had a little bit more of a go. Certainly a point closer to where Colchester want to be, but given Grimsby got a bit of a hiding today, they could have done with really converting that penalty, to be honest. Fleetwood and Barrow played out a 0-0 draw, two mid-table sides. Not really a lot to say about this game, in all honesty. Now obviously Fleetwood, they either seem to win 4-0, lose 4-0 or draw 0-0. There's never really an in-between with Pete Wildside, and I guess that's the reason why they are in mid-table. Tyler Smith, Bradford City loanee, was a second half substitute, but not really a right lot happened in the game. You look at the stats, Fleetwood had 14 shots, but only 2 of them on target. Barrow only had 1 on target as well, and I feel like this is the reason why both of these teams are in mid-table. They just really lack goals at certain times, especially Fleetwood at home, and he's just 1 point picked up out of their last possible 9 available. As for Barrow, it maintains their unbeaten run, 8 points picked up out of their last possible 12 available, 14th versus 15th in what is just an end of season dead rubber clash. I guess you could count this game towards a bit of a next season pre-season friendly. Maybe both teams now start to be looking for next season and towards there, and maybe giving different players an opportunity or trying different formations and all that sort of stuff. But you look at the goal difference, you look at the record across both teams there's a reason why they're both in mid-table, are just very similar in terms of wins, draws and losses, and goals scored and goals conceded. It is all just very average, and across the full season they probably do deserve to both be in mid-table, but a 0-0 draw is never fun, is it? Swindon continued their excellent end to the season as they went away from home to Grimsby Town. Ian Holloway returning to one of his former clubs and battering them 4-0. Tom Nichols opened the scoring on 8 minutes, and Ollie Clark would double it just past the half-an-hour point. Kabongo Shamanga would score again from open play in the second half, and the scoring was wrapped up by Amin in the 95th minute. He is a top player. Played against Bradford City last week and absolutely tore Brad Halliday apart in that first half. A real disappointing day at the office for Grimsby, and you've got to feel that, even though it is, they've only dropped 3 points, but in the manner that they've done it, losing 4-0 at home to a mid-table side, that is really demoralising for them. And, maybe our result on Saturday against Swindon doesn't now look all too bad. If Grimsby at home have failed to score with 11 men, then the fact Bradford City scored 4, I know 2 of them were only with 10 men, but to score 2 away from home against this Swindon side, fair play to us. I know that, both teams come away from both games with 0 points, but I think we deserve a little bit of credit. You look at the stats, all in favour of Swindon. He has returned to Blundell Park and got his revenge really on Grimsby, hasn't he? Ian Holloway, loads of XG, way more possession, which is rare really for Grimsby to not have more of the ball. Swindon have way more shots on target, way more big chances and more corner kicks as well. Grimsby didn't really have much of a kick in the game, and that is a real damaging result for them. Yes, they're still level on points with 7th place Colchester, but there's about a 16 goal difference swing between the two sides, so really disappointing for Grimsby. If they don't get into the playoffs, it'll certainly be because of their defence. 64 goals conceded so far this season, just 1 point picked up out of their last 2 matches, just 1 win in their last 4. It isn't looking great for the Mariners. As for Swindon, they're ending the season absolutely emphatically. 4 straight wins on the bounce, and the scoring goals of fun. They've scored 4, then 5, then 4 again in their last 3 matches. They're certainly very entertaining games, but they have also conceded 61 goals so far this season. They are 6 points off the playoffs with 3 games to go. Crazier things have certainly happened, but I think they've just left it a little bit too late to make it in. Maybe they had a little bit too bad of a start to the season, but if I'm being completely honest, it's all well and good doing it when the pressure's off, but when the pressure was on, we saw early on in the season, Swindon really were struggling. I think Ian Holloway tries to attack too much. It's all well and good playing strikers in central midfield and scoring loads of goals, but we saw against Bradford City, defensively, they're all over the place, and they're certainly going to need to improve going into next season. So a brilliant win for Swindon, but I feel like if they're to make it into the playoffs, they need to be a bit more adaptable and a bit better defensively going into next campaign, but who knows what Ian Holloway can cook up going into next season. MK Dons and Newport County played out a 0-0 draw in Paul Warren's first game as MK Dons gaffer. I thought it was very interesting to see the starting lineups and squads for this game. There was no Alex Gilby or Dan Crowley in the matchday squad for MK Dons, which I thought was very, very strange in all honesty. Maybe they're injured, maybe they're ill, or maybe Paul Warney's getting rid of the egos in the dressing room. 0-0 between two mid-table sides. Again, we're not really going to speak about this all too much, but Newport have been dreadful away from home across the majority of this season, so nice for them to pick up a clean sheet. As for MK Dons, I certainly see them being a lot more solid and stable between now and the end of the season. Going into next season, I do think they're going to need a little bit of a rebuild, and I also think that it's the right appointment that they needed. They didn't need another tippy-tappy possession-based manager. They needed somebody who's a bit more of a man manager, a motivator, because there's a lot of egos in that dressing room and a lot of individual good talent, but they weren't really playing together as a team. So to come in and get a clean sheet in your first game is obviously positive signs. It wasn't the most entertaining of matches. MK Dons dominated possession, but nothing really clear-cut was created between either side. And again, just a bit of another mid-table dead rubber clash. Two teams are in horrendous form. Not a single win across the last 5 matches for both teams. 10 matches, 30 points available, and just 3 points picked up across them games for both sides, and obviously 2 of them points have come against each other. So a game which in the grand scheme of things doesn't really mean all too much. I think both teams are definitely going to be safe between now and the end of the season. It is all about building for next campaign. I think MK Dons will certainly be going up. Newport might be looking a little bit down going into next season, especially if they maybe lose a Bobby Camworth in the summer, but in the grand scheme of things, like I say, a game which don't really mean all too much. Accrington took a massive step closer to survivals. They went away to Salford City and picked up a 2-1 victory. Sean Whalley doing what he's done all season, scoring at just before half-time. Where would Accrington be without him this campaign? Maybe going into next season, if his contract's not renewed or he doesn't quite hit the same form, they're going to need to look elsewhere for more goals, but it's nice seeing him back in the team and scoring goals. Ben Woods scored an unbelievable free kick in the second half, right into the top corner. The Salford keeper stood absolutely no chance with that. Keeper Doolican did pull a goal back just 8 minutes later from the penalty spot. Kelly Namai actually played in this game, which I thought he wouldn't play again this season. The same with Osama Ashley. I thought they were both unavailable. Maybe I was dreaming that potentially. I thought they both came off injured on Tuesday. Obviously, Salford did draw with Doncaster on Tuesday. A decent point, really, for both sides. In terms of the statistics, Salford had more possession, more XG, but Accrington had more shots and more shots on target as well. And it is a massive, massive 3 points. It takes them now 6 points clear of the relegation zone. It really drags Tranmere back into it, as they've only got 1 win in their last 4. But Accrington, they had been on a really poor run of form recently. They've been conceding a lot of goals. 4 to Fleetwood, 4 to Bromley, and 3 to Tranmere as well. And obviously the manner of that frustrating draw where they were 3-0 up with about 10 minutes or so to go at home to Tranmere and only coming away from the game with a point. They've bounced back in emphatic fashion with a brilliant win away at Salford, and that probably all but kills the Ami's chance of making it into the top 7 this season. Now 4 points off with just 3 games to go, and it's just 1 win in their last 5 matches. It's all about building for next season, but I see them losing some of their better players this summer, the likes of Ashley, the likes of Kelly Namai. Sure, they're going to make that step up into League One. Massive win though for Accrington. That really separates and creates a nice gap between themselves and Carlisle. Maybe they're only going to need to win 1 of their last 3 to survive. I think even 2 draws might be enough to keep them up, so maybe it's a bit of a shootout now between Tranmere and Carlisle, like what it has been for the majority of this season. Speaking of Tranmere Rovers, they were demolished 3-0 at home to Doncaster Rovers today. A Luke Molyneux hat-trick was enough to secure all 3 points for Grant McCann's side, and this was kind of the only real result which didn't go in Bradford City's favour. Doncaster have leapfrogged us in the table. 3 well-taken goals, I guess, really, from Luke Molyneux. I saw the penalty, definitely a penalty for me, and obviously Molyneux just taps it down the middle, really, sending Luke McGee the wrong way, who obviously gave away the spot kick. Andy Crosby was sent off in the first half as well, so I'm not too sure what the repercussions will be for him, but obviously won't be on the touchline for the next game or 2, maybe 3. I'm not 100% sure on the laws around bans and managerial red cards, all that sort of stuff, but a massive 3 points for Grant McCann's side. It takes them 3 points closer to League One, which was always their goal at the start of the season. Way more XG, a lot less possession as well, which I was a little bit surprised by. Tranmere have been a little bit happy or less happy to have possession, or they didn't really want possession, if that makes sense, under Andy Crosby. And Doncaster largely do dominate possession, but Donny created way more chances, had more shots on target, more big chances, all that sort of stuff. And Tranmere, they had the odd half chance, but nothing really too clear cut, in all honesty. And like I mentioned, it maintains Doncaster's unbeaten run. They have been in decent form recently. Obviously, frustrating result on Tuesday. Maybe you could say they were a bit lucky, where I think Doncaster's goal is offside, and Salford had one disallowed from a corner at the end of the first half, which seemed to be a little bit soft. But then Doncaster, before all that, scored a goal which I didn't really see anything wrong with, in all honesty. So a pretty poor referee on Tuesday. Like I mentioned, I've been saying it for a while. I think the top three will be Port Vale, Doncaster and Bradford. But that game next Saturday, Doncaster versus Bradford, is looking like a massive promotion 6-pointer. Whoever wins that will surely be in League One next season. As for Tranmere, we've mentioned it a few times now, that gap down to just 4 points, just one win in their last 4 matches. Carlisle are coming like a steam train. They've just beaten Port Vale, top of the table. So if I was a Tranmere fan, I would be starting to look over my shoulder again with a lot of nerves. 39 goals scored, but 64 conceded. Carlisle are flying. Tranmere, they're hitting a poor run of form at the worst possible time. Losing against Doncaster isn't the end of the world, but maybe the manner of the defeat, losing your manager as well in the first half to a red card, that's not ideal. Maybe that's the alarm saying that Doncaster are going up. I hope not, but a brilliant win for Grant McCann's side. Walsall made it 11 games without a win and just 2 wins in their last 18 matches. They were held at home once again by Harrogate Town. I think they'd only scored 1 in their last 9 away matches, and they scored 2 pretty well taken goals in this game. Anthony O'Connor, former Bantam, would convert into his own net. Some nice play from Walsall, who works it out to the right hand side very nicely. Connor Barrett with a cross-come shot, which I think is actually going wide. Anthony O'Connor, nobody around him, just sticks it into the back of the net, and I thought, goodness me, have you been paid off by the Saddlers here? Because that is borderline match fixing. It was absolutely embarrassing from the former Bantam. But 6 minutes later, Harrogate would level. An unbelievable finish from Josh March, to be fair. The ball falls to him after originally a good save from Simkin. I think Harrogate had just hit the post as well, but left-footed volley on a really tight angle, finds the top corner. Absolutely outstanding finish from the former Stevenage man, and Harrogate would take the lead in the second half. Josh March, I think he came from a long throw, maybe a corner, would lay off to Ellis Taylor. Wasn't the most amazing of strikes, wasn't really much power behind it, but I think Jamil Matt sticks out his big left boot and it comes off his big toe and kind of just boings into the bottom corner, and Tommy Simkin can't quite get across quick enough to prevent the goal. Unfortunately, Harrogate couldn't hold on for all 3 points. Liam Gordon would convert just 2 minutes from time to rescue a point for the Saddlers. Pretty poor defending from Harrogate. Ellis Taylor doesn't track Gordon, and then he basically, I won't say has a tap-in, because he passes it coolly into the bottom corner. A really, really good finish, to be fair. Nice composure originally from Ryan Sturck. Again, though, more points dropped for the Saddlers. They have a really easy run-in on paper, but they're just not winning matches. 3 points now picked up out of their last possible 15 available. They've now slipped out of the top 3 as well for the first time, what feels like all season. They were top for how long? 15, 16 points clear, and now they're 3 points off of top. And like I mentioned, just 2 wins in their last 18 matches, no wins in their last 11. How is Matt Sadler still in a job? As for Harrogate, point closer to keeping them up for this season. I think they're going to be safe anyway. 7 points above the drop now, with obviously 3 games to go. I don't see them really going down, and a pretty well hard-fought point on the road. I thought defensively they were pretty solid throughout the match as well. Scored a couple of decent goals, especially that one from March. Probably goal of the weekend in League 2, but like I say, I haven't watched a lot of the highlights because obviously they're not available yet. It's not even 6 o'clock by the time that I finish recording this video. So a good point for Harrogate. Disappointing not that they couldn't hold on for all 3 points, but again, more points dropped for the Saddlers, and surely alarm bells are really ringing now as they fall out of that top 3. In terms of the league table then, like I've been saying for a while, I do think the top 3 will finish as Port Vale, Doncaster and Bradford, but it's not looking good for the Bantam. Just 1 win in our last 5. We need to probably beat Chesterfield on Monday, take a point against Doncaster, and then hopefully beat Fleetwood on the final day as well. But like I mentioned, the Cods, that's not going to be an easy game at home. They've been very good away from home, scored a lot of goals away from home, and they can be very inconsistent. We don't traditionally do very well against peak wild teams, so I wouldn't say I'm particularly confident of promotion. If we fall into the playoffs, I wouldn't really want to play any of them teams, in all honesty. I think Walsall, now they're out of that top 3, I can't see them getting back into it, in all honesty. I think Doncaster, they're definitely going to go up, they're flying. Port Vale, I still think they'll go up, probably go on and win the league. It all depends how they do now bounce back from this very frustrating and disappointing defeat. As for the playoffs, I've been saying for a while, Colchester and Grimsby might sneak in there and Notts might fall out, but they've got David McGoldrick, the Notts County, and that's something that nobody else in this division do have. He's an absolute joke for this level. Jody Jones recently returning from fitness as well, from injury to fitness, and Grimsby losing 4-0 at home to Swindon, that's terrible news for them. As for bottom of the table, I've been saying for quite a while I thought it was going to be Morecambe and Carlisle, but the great escape seems to be on. Would it be an amazing escape? No, considering all the money that they have spent this season. I think they've got the biggest spend and budget in the division, so it wouldn't be as good as the Jimmy Glass escape, but where they were 3 match days ago, the points difference that they've managed to claw back, if they do survive, it'll still be a really good achievement for the football club. But why or why they ever appointed Mike Williamson, I will never know. Tranmere, I'm sure they're starting to look over their shoulders with a little bit of nerves, but the likes of MK Dons and Newport, they continue their terrible run of form. Barrow, they maintain their unbeaten run. Swindon are flying as well towards the end of the campaign, so there's still plenty to play for between now and the end of the season. 3 games to go. It'll all be covered on this channel, so don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 120 likes as always would be massively appreciated. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below. Who's going up, who's going down? Have your opinions changed from what they were recently as well? Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully come Tuesday when we'll do the Game Week 44 League 2 review, Bradford City and maybe top of the table again.